4 French drivers at the French Grand Prix trying to win this on the final lap. The 3 wide again, Guillaume down the inside. Guillaume moves across, they're both in front of Milan and Pouget.
Before you know it, we find ourselves here in the very final race of the competition.
And then they see truck racing and they think, this is crazy, you know, these are 5-ton machines, 1200 horsepower brake.
Oh, look at that switchback. Oh, he's been mugged and a drift to go out.
I love this. 10.5 minutes gone. Senna Lanson tries to go for the race lead.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Well, hello everybody. Hello and welcome to Chaz Draycott Media and welcome to Season 2, 1998 in the Chaz Draycott Media Boremula 1 World Championship by F1Countdown.com, also sponsored by Abruzzi Racewear and Sim Racing Magazine. We also have some fantastic support from Gilles Gardner and Morgan Butler on their Simtography side of things as well, as the images will be produced throughout the season. But hello everybody. Hello. It's super exciting to be back for this championship. And boy, it's a lot more of a quick-fire season this time round, I tell you. We've got 10 championship rounds coming your way over the next 11 weeks. Last year, we had 13 rounds over the course of about 10 months. But right now, we are here for the first round at Winton Motor Raceway, a very, very difficult and very unique circuit here. I was going to say we didn't have a great time at Phillip Island, but that's an absolute lie because Phillip Island was amazing at the start of last season. But here we are at Winton, which has been a big, big challenge for the drivers. You can expect a lot of spins and invalidated laps tonight. And what you can expect is Ed May back in the box with me for the entire season. Ed, we had a great time at pre-season testing, a good laugh with the drivers. It's great to see these cars now out there in their liveries, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Obviously, now is the time where the drivers really do start to push it a bit more. Obviously, the smiles and jokes will still carry on, but there'll be that little extra edge here tonight, as this is where the championship really gets off in full swing here at Winton Motor Raceway, a track that I had to actually buy as well as a few other drivers. So it's going to be interesting to see what the drivers will be like on a circuit that they haven't really driven too much, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Pete Harrod only bought the circuit just a bit earlier for practice, actually. So he's only had the circuit for about an hour and a half, I think he said. So we'll have to keep our eye on how Pete Harrod gets on in the Jordan Mugen Honda. What I did want to do very quickly is actually just bring you a image to show you what the current running order is going to be like. But for some reason, OBS is not loading it, so if you bear with me 1 second, I will grab that and we'll bring it up. But yeah, like Ed said, it's one of those circuits tonight that's just going to be a massive challenge for the drivers. There's a horrible middle sector as well. It's very, very tough to get right, and there's so many places where the drivers can muck it up. So It's going to be certainly a big challenge. Here's your look then at how the runners and riders are shaped up for this season. In the Season 2 Spotters Guide, it's Silas Cragvrolic and Jake Cranstone that were first and third in pre-season testing, and they get the McLaren Mercedes. Kevin Zemstra and Tim Perry line up at Ferrari. Reigning champion Cam Dance from 1997's season actually does go to Williams, which is exactly what Jacques Villeneuve did, because he stayed. Well, I said goes to Williams. He stayed there the following season with the big sort of overhaul, the new branding, and the Mechachrome engine. Jordan Mugen Honda have Pete Harrod and Ben Chalcraft to their name, and it's going to be an interesting season to see how they get on right near the front. Probably my favourite looking car on the grid actually is Ben Hoffman and Sam Bentham's Benetton Play Life, which is quite funny really, because both of them have got Ben in their name, and it's obviously Benetton, so we're going to play with that all season. We have two of our Circuit Superstars drivers, Mike Murphy and Nico Minardi, teamed up at Sauber Petronas. Yes, we know we've missed a trick with not having Nico in a Minardi, but you can blame him for his own pace. Look out for their little head surrounds as well in the car, by the way. They're differently coloured, much like they were in 1998 between the two drivers at the time. Arrows Yamaha of Tom Minot and Stuart Clark together in one of the prettiest cars in the field. Very simple livery to do, though. That took me about all of 10 minutes. Stuart Ford, Jack Stiles and Toby Ward. That car was a pain in the backside to paint, and if I'm honest, it's still not finished, so please don't look at it too closely. Jack Stiles is a little bit disappointed, though, in his pace in pre-season testing, seeing as he was in Ferrari last season. Pros Peugeot have Martin Kenyon and no John Tusting for this round. Michael Jones will be replacing John. John's actually due in for surgery due to an injury, and we wish him all the best and look forward to getting him back on the track. But Michael Jones has been given the chance to drive in the championship for the first couple of rounds, which is nice, and that's on agreement from all of the drivers as well. Minardi Ford have teammates outside of the championship, John Roberts and Rob Lundgren. And then Tyrrell Ford have Simon Price and Gilles Gardner. And I think that, to be fair, we're going to have a great spread of talent across the whole grid here, Ed. There's so many brilliant people involved in this series. It's just going to be a lot of fun, isn't it?
It really is. And, I mean, you just look at the grid, you look at the cars out there, and you just think, oh, this is going to be an absolute corker. I mean, pre-season testing, or rather the pre-qualifying for the season, it was an absolute treat. We saw so many close moments right at the death in qualifying, and you have to imagine what we're going to be seeing here for the rest of the season, because everyone's so evenly matched on pace. And I mean, if we look at the top five, they're all in or around about similar pace. Obviously, around here in practice, I believe laps with 1Xs will still count, but we were talking earlier, Chaz, this circuit's certainly unforgiving when it comes to the track limit, so you might be seeing a few drivers shuffle back through the order on account of invalid laps.
Yeah, definitely. There's going to be a number of people tonight that really struggle to get their lap times on the board, and we'll see drivers sort of out of sync with where they were in pre-season testing, but I think that's part of the excitement here for this evening. So it's going to be a lot of fun, I imagine. We've got fantastic viewership already. There's a lot of you over on Twitch. Hello, I do see all of you there, and all of you on YouTube. Nobody on Facebook at the moment, though, so Facebook, sort out your algorithm. But still, thank you everybody that's in the chat so far. Hello, hello, hello. So many of you to say hello to, and so many messages coming in. So thank you all of you for your support for the championship. We really do hope you enjoy the show. But as Ed has alluded to there, we're going to have one-shot qualifying again all season. So drivers will go out in reverse championship order for the first round, going out in reverse pre-season testing order. And they only get one chance to set a lap time. So we're going to see people go on a really reserved approach, I think. And we did see that a few times last season, didn't we, Ed, where drivers didn't give it their all. They just sort of took their time with it a little bit and were very careful of track limits just to get a banker lap on the board.
Yeah, that was something that I wasn't really able to do. I think I probably had more invalid laps in qualifying than I did have valid ones after we switched to the one-shot format. It did provide some very entertaining races. Obviously, Spa being one that I really did enjoy, even though it wasn't necessarily the best result for me. Just the racing where you can come up through the field, it was brilliant. So it's going to be exciting to see what it's going to be like. A completely different circuit. The nice, tight technical twists of Winton will provide, I'm certain, some excellent racing as well. These cars do have a tendency to try and over-rotate, so as you're watching on board with Ben Chalcraft, just trying to coast it in on those slow speed corners, careful picking up on the throttle as well. He's not doing too bad for himself, actually. It's good to see the Jordan Mugen Hondas together on the timing sheets. Pete Harrod out there 5th fastest. Ooh. His teammate there in 6th, but that was a bit twitchy, wasn't it, on the way into the pits. See similar format as well with the mandatory pit stop for the drivers, and that was again so tight on the way in. That's going to be something to catch out the drivers.
Definitely is, yeah. They're really going to get caught out with that because they might not even just pit once, they might pit twice over the course of this race. Here is Silas Cragvrollet getting used to the McLaren here at Winton. Now, he was actually fastest in pre-season testing with Silas, so he's definitely going to be hoping to catch this one off guard tonight. There's a lot of drivers, as you can see, just struggling slightly with keeping the car on the road at the moment as practice is about to come to an end. We've got the lovely Jack Stiles choreographing this qualifying session tonight, and Jack can be excused from having the wrong coloured wheels on his car this evening. He's wearing the gold wheels that he was wearing for Ferrari last season. And there's a couple of drivers, Tom Minot and Cam Dance, haven't set lap times yet. Tom Minot's only done 3 laps so far in the session though. And talking about this track, a lot of people really don't like this circuit. They have already told me how much they dislike the fact that we are here. But apparently Cam Dance has mentioned that Dick Johnson said running around this track is like running a marathon around your clothesline, which is very, very true, because even in these cars, we're only doing about 1:15, aren't we?
Yeah, it is very quick laps around here. I mean, these cars are little pocket rockets, so they aren't slow either, which does mean that we will have plenty of laps, plenty of time for the drivers to maybe try different things with the strategies, going for undercuts, overcuts. It's a little bit easier on shorter laps to try alternative strategies, so maybe we'll see something like that coming through. But we are now entering the one-shot qualifying, and we will have the first drivers out onto the circuit. Michael Jones takes to the track.
He does indeed. Gilles Gardner is just going to make his way out of the pits to follow him as well with a bit of a gap. They do get released 2 at a time, basically, with at least 10 to 15 seconds between them, just so we do go through the session a little bit quicker, because last season, admittedly, half of the broadcast at least was qualifying, and then the race was only about 35 minutes. So we've got Michael Jones and Gilles Gardner in the Tyrrell out there at the moment. I really couldn't quite get the silver right on the nose of that car, so the Brother logo doesn't show very well, but my bad. But on the airbox of this car, you'll notice as well that they have the driver's number, as they did on the Tyrrells in 1998. One of them was green, which is Simon Price's number 64, and one is orange, which is Gilles Gardner's number 27. Here's Michael Jones. Oh, dearie me, Michael's lit it up on his outlap. I think Gilles' going to have to maybe wait for him now as he's had this spin. You can hear that Gilles slowed it down. There's no qualifying scrutiny on here in this championship, luckily, so the drivers will not get a slap on the wrists for going too slowly, as you often can do. Michael just giving the car a bit of a wiggle as he comes onto the brakes now, and again, just has a bit of a lock-up. But this is one of those circuits, isn't it, Ed, that really doesn't suit this car because of the way that it slowly rotates, or over-rotates, I should say.
Yeah, it goes both ways. I mean, the car doesn't suit the track, and the track certainly doesn't suit the car. I mean, you see in here, Michael Jones trying to get some heat into the tyres. It takes around about 2 or 3 to get into that perfect window around here. We saw it in pre-qualifying. The drivers' first few attempts weren't really up to pace, and then they started getting a lot faster as the tyres properly got into the window. So these first few laps are essentially just all about survival and getting the time on the board. Michael Jones now will be having the honour of being the first driver to put a lap in for qualifying of this new season. Purple driver going through the first sector right now. Going to see what Gilles Gardner can do in response. And it is great seeing these sort of first few moments in qualifying. Gilles Gardner improving, so he's going nicely out on the circuit. Michael Jones, look at that, just trying to balance the car. You can see it's not responding at all.
Yeah, it's just trying to not let the car over-rotate there under sort of deceleration or have lift-off oversteer on that part of the track. It can be really, really horrible around there, but he's doing a good job at the moment. Here's Michael Jones. He's keeping it pointing the right way, and that's just oh so important, really, for making sure that you get a decent lap on the board, or at least just get a banker lap in as well. I lost quite a lot of frames a moment ago in the stream, and I'm not quite sure why, so apologies for that. But we're about to get our very first lap time of the 2023 season here in the CDM Boremula 1 World Championship, and it is Michael Jones in the Prost Peugeot. He goes across the line and does a 1:19.293. Gilles Gardner is just entering the last couple of laps now. There should have been another car go out of the pit lane since these two. Simon Price has gone out on track, but I think there was another one supposed to go out. There goes Gilles Gardner, 3 purple sectors and a green final sector, and he does a 1:18.157, so he goes 1.1 seconds quicker than Michael Jones, and that's his effort on the board. Here is the next driver up then, Simon Price, car number 64, the other Tyrrell Ford, makes his way through that horrible chicane at turns 2 and 3, but we do have cars that should be going out on track right now, one of which is Tom Minot, the other one is Rob Lundgren. And hopefully we'll get them out on circuit shortly. I think it was Rob Lundgren that was supposed to go next, actually. Or was it? No, Tom Minot was supposed to go. Yeah, Tom Minot was supposed to go right near the beginning, actually. I think. Oh no, sorry. That was his. I'm looking at the provisional results here. Goodness me.
I think it was John Roberts supposed to be out there as well.
Yes, I think it was John. Rob Lundgren was supposed to go next, and then John Roberts, but Rob Lundgren hasn't gone anywhere, unfortunately. He should be the next car making his way out, but he is unfortunately not. That is Tom Minot's car sat there, but yeah, I'm afraid Rob has not gone. So we'll have to wait and see what happens there. I'm not sure if he's had some sort of connection issue or something, but he was still sat in the car from what we could see. Simon Price has done 3 purple sectors so far in the Tyrrell, so he's on his way to a provisional pole position time. Makes his run to the line now. He's got an 18.1 to beat, and that's a solid time by the look of it. It is 1.2 seconds clear. 1:16.9 means that Simon Price goes on to provisional pole position. And unfortunately, as of right now, he is the only car out on the circuit by the look of it. We don't have anybody else. John Roberts is apparently in the pits. His car has sort of spawned in. But Rob Lundgren is supposed to be getting going any moment now. He and John are teammates. There is John's car at the end of the pit lane. John's been told to go by the look of it. Jack Stiles is the one choreographing this and making sure that everyone does as they're told. But yeah, Rob Lundgren was supposed to have moved. Anyway, we can speculate all we want. But John Roberts in this gorgeous Minardi from 1998. Minardi went with a very different livery, actually, in 98 than they did in 1997. A lot of you will remember the gorgeous black, yellow and white car from 97, which I do think is possibly the best looking F1 car of all time, away from maybe the Arrows of the same year. Happy to say that Rob Lundgren is now out on track. So both of the Minardis on the road currently. Luckily, though, we do get an hour for this session, so any sort of delays like that or anything that comes out of kilter, it doesn't really make that much of a difference, to be fair. There's usually only a tiny bit of difference in terms of the track usage from one car to the next, so I think we'll be all good. But John Roberts, well, he's a name that we've seen on our screens many times before, Ed. How do you think he's going to get on here?
Oh, I'm just looking forward to seeing what he's going to be able to pull out. I mean, obviously, he's good managing the tyres over the course of a race distance, but it's about getting them lit up at the start, and I'm not sure if he's going to be able to do that. We're going to wait and see, though, as he rounds out on the final bend and comes across the start-finish line to start his first flying lap of the season. Just braking nice and gently, trying to carry the momentum through. It's getting the car turned in through the momentum, the weight transfer. It's so difficult through that first chicane. You can see drivers always missing that sort of apex on the right-hand side just because the car just refuses to turn. The tyres aren't up to temperature, and it's just a bit of a slog, really, for these first few laps. It's going to be interesting to see how they're going to manage that over the course of the race as well, how hard the drivers are going to push on those cold tyres into turn 1. That's something to be excited for, of course. Again, just trying to carry it through. A little bit twitchy on the exit as he picks up the power. Then it's so difficult through those corners because you never know where the apex is. And again, you can't get too close to the curves because that will unsettle the car. They're nice and sort of abrupt, really, on the inside there. So you need to almost find a groove on the inside to hook the car through, which he does through that corner. And now just rounding his way into the final sector. Car's just, again, so twitchy at the rear end.
Yeah, absolutely is. Here's John Roberts then around the final corner now. Across the line he goes. I love that final angle. The car looks really, really cool around there. John Roberts posts a time of... oh, it's a bit further down, actually. 1:19.58 puts him at the back of the pack at the moment. Unfortunately, he's not been able to really nail the time. It looks like Rob Lundgren's a little bit off in each sector at the moment compared to Simon Price. He's lost a couple of tenths here, a couple of tenths there. It's not a necessarily bad lap by Lundgren, so across the line he goes. Behind him is going to be Martin Kenyon and then Toby Ward. That is Lundgren across the line. And he goes second fastest. Still 9 tenths down on Simon Price, though. Simon's really put in a belter of a lap there, hasn't he, by the look of it, Ed?
That's a really nice lap from Simon. It's a benchmark that everyone's trying their best, but just can't quite seem to match. And that could quite easily put him right up in the fight for maybe even 5th place. I mean, we've got a few big hitters coming in, but it's all about, obviously, those big hitters putting those laps in and not having any invalidations, because as the session goes on, you expect these drivers lower down to be a little bit more conservative. They just want to get a time on the board and obviously qualify as high as they can do and bank on some of the drivers that push it a little bit too hard, losing everything. And that's, I think, the best way to approach these races, especially at the start of the season when there's so long to go. You don't really need to take any unnecessary risks.
Yeah, definitely. You can't push it too hard and, like you say, take those risks. Martin Kenyon's taking a little bit of risk at the moment. He's got 2 purple sectors on this lap so far as Martin. He's going to come across the line now. And it's looking good for Mr. Kenyon. I think he might have just done it by about 1/10 of a second. And he has, yeah, 0.175 of a second. Brilliant stuff by Martin Kenyon. He goes fastest. Behind him is going to be Toby Ward in the Stewart Ford. Ward in the Ford. Into the final couple of corners goes Toby. Car number 66, you can see the back end wanting to break away from him there. The front wheels on this car are actually a lot further apart than the rears. It's got a really weird track and sort of spacing about it. Cross the line goes the Stewart. I love the car from 1998. I think the Stewart looked fantastic. He goes 3rd fastest, 0.447 off Martin Kenyon's time. But again, a really good representation that by Toby Ward. And then we move on to our next pairing, which is going to be headed up by Nico Minardi in the Sauber. Again, keep your eye on the headrests. Nico's is yellow, Mike's is red. And here comes Nico. He is the main sponsor of the championship, actually. Nico is the man responsible for Formula 1 count. Sorry, I've done it already. I just said to Ed before we went live. Don't call it Formula1countdown.com, Chaz, because it's F1countdown.com, and I'm the one that's fouled it, so I'm sorry, Nico. But yes, Nico is a very generous man, a lovely bloke as well, and I think a 13-time either world or European champion on Circuit Superstars, and that's going to be an invalidated lap, I think,
yeah,
to say the
I
least.
think the first one of the night.
It is. Maybe the pressure got to him. Maybe he's got the stream on in the background and he knows, because some lunatics like you like to do that, don't you, Ed? Where you've got the stream on in the background.
It's the Sauber. It's that car. It's the Sauber curse. Being behind the wheel of that, you're always going to invalidate your lap times. I knew that from my time last season.
Weren't you number 13 as well?
I believe I might have been, actually.
That was Hedgecock.
Yeah.
Hedge was number 13, wasn't he?
Hedge was 13,
the second
yeah.
season.
I think I was 17.
Yes, you were. It's the second season we've had number 13 in the Sauber. It's weird. Oh well.
And it was unfortunately unlucky number 13 for Nico, who is the first driver falling foul of track limits. But interestingly, actually, I was watching Martin Kenyon on his in-lap. He was putting purple sectors across the board. It does show just how the tyres really do start to come into their own after sort of a full lap of proper punishment. So, again, that's something that drivers are having to contend with, where they're having to do their best lap times, the only lap times they can do, while trying to fight the tyres and get the heat into them. Stuart Clark coming across the line now. That will put him on pole position provisionally. Yeah. Lovely lap time, 3.5 tenths almost better than the rest. Martin Kenyon sliding himself back down into second place, but that was a lovely lap there by the Arrows Yamaha.
Yep, smashing stuff by Stuart Clark. Here's his teammate Tom Minot. Tom is pushing very hard indeed. Look at the way he's going through this first chicane. It looks quicker than everybody else at the moment, but Tom is one of these drivers. He really does push it very hard indeed. We saw that in pre-season testing. The reason that he didn't get a lap in at the Hungaroring, by the way, was that he had a spin and then he had to take care of something else outside of the sim. So we did give him a chance to do a couple more laps, and he played the game. You know, he didn't take advantage of it too much. He just did 5 laps. He didn't give himself the full half hour even, and then he had to set some laps outside of that as well, because he did go on holiday straight after pre-season testing, and he's been really good at making sure that, you know, he's not played the system, he's not sort of mucked about with it and put himself in a place where he wouldn't have normally been on pace, and he's right there as well in this lot.
That just really judging it, and you can see the car trying to step out of there, almost all 4 wheels sliding, but he's going faster than anybody through the first and third sectors. A little bit of a lock-up as he just tries to turn in, runs wide of the apex. It doesn't matter too much as long as you can hook up this last corner for the drive up to the line. What will it be for Tom Minot, the number 10 Arrows? Comes across the line, and will it be enough for provisional pole position? It looked good, and It is good. Pole position currently going the way of Tom Minot.
Great job indeed. Here's the gold-wheeled Stewart of Jack Styles, really wrangling it around the final corner. That looked fantastic, didn't it? Unfortunately, not much daylight between himself and Tom there to really read what the time was going to be. But look at that, down in 8th place for Jack Styles, 2 seconds off. I think he had a bit of a nightmare in the middle sector. It looks actually like he lost half a sector in sector 2 and then another half a second in sector 3. So Jack will not be too chuffed with that. Here comes the next Sauber, the next of the 3 Circuit Superstars drivers we've got in our championship. We've got a lot of people that are big Circuit Superstars fans over on Twitch as well, which is lovely to see. Great to have you all here with us. But Mike Murphy in the Sauber, great rival of Nico Minardi over on Circuit Superstars, but also a great friend, is now teammate of Nico in this championship. And across the line he goes. We'll jump on board and see what it looks like through the first chicane from his perspective. Oh, look at the four-wheel slide and the understeer. It's so easy to get that, isn't it, in this car, Ed? I mean, you've driven this machine for a season and you know exactly what the pain is like. It's either really oversteer into a corner or it has this horrible four-wheel drift, doesn't it?
Yeah, or it just understeers, oversteers. It's a really weird car to drive in the fact that you can never entirely be certain of what it's going to do into a corner until you're about halfway around, and then at that point it's usually too late. So you're going to be seeing Mike Murphy really trying to fight the car through. He gets nice rotation there, and again into this corner, just having to balance it on the throttle is the key factor through these sort of low to medium speed corners. You can just hear the car picking up nicely on the exit. And again, when you get corners in quick succession, you've got to sort of balance it nicely, almost do a little bit of braking as well to get some extra rotation. Sometimes you can add the rear end, sort of get that stepping out a little bit to pitch the momentum around, because again, it's a car that's not necessarily the most easy to manage beasts. As you can see there, four-wheel sliding on the exit. Mike Murphy, though, throughout all of that, is still going to have purple final couple of sectors, and will that be not enough, unfortunately, for the front row? He'll be having to settle for 3rd place, but not a bad lap time at all.
And here comes the next of our Circuit Superstars drivers, Ben Shalcraft in the Jordan. The first of the Jordans we've seen tonight, purple final sector from him. Can he beat a 116? He can, by 22 thousandths of a second over Tom Minot. So he just gets the job done, does Ben Shalcraft, and he moves on to provisional pole position. Great job indeed. But you can see here, Ed, based on the sort of spread in the field and the difference in pace from the very top to the very bottom, just how much people are sort of spreading it out by not taking risks, and some are taking those risks.
And here we go. Driver that likes to take a few risks here and there. Ben Hoffman out on track and trying to... Is he actually been able to... This is just an outlap for him, isn't it? Yeah,
yes.
He's going to be getting ready to start his flyer now. You can just see the car. And there's already a bit of front wing damage. Maybe that will affect the car turning into the first chicane, because they need the car to be as optimally set up as possible. Any lack of front aero will hurt you massively, but as you can see there, it doesn't seem to affect him at all. That was probably one of the cleanest runs through that chicane we've seen all night.
Yeah, really solid run there. As a little bit wide through the next right-hander, though. The car wasn't quite behaving itself. It didn't make it to the apex. That little bit of wing damage might be affecting it slightly. The drivers won't see that either. They won't be able to see that from where they sit in this car, but you can see the commitment around there is so necessary to really push on. You've got to be really careful on the brakes. It looked like it was going to go around, but Ben Hoffman is wrangling this car a lot. He's got Pete Harrod on the lap as well in the other Jordan, number 21. Pete was around at mine the other day talking all things VAT Sim and Flight Sim until about 1:30 in the morning. But Ben Hoffman, one of the most exciting drivers from last season, raced for Williams last season, but then had a really torrid time. He was right up there in pre-season testing, 3rd fastest if I remember rightly. This time not quite as far up at the sharp end, but there's a purple sector on the board there, Ed. This is looking promising.
Yeah, this could be exciting stuff. He's been driving this car really nicely, even with the damage. He's got it right on the razor's edge, which is what you need to do to drive fast around there. Just on the edge of oversteer is where you've got to be. As again, nice out of the final corner. Will it be enough for pole position? It might be close. I think he's done it. Yes, he has. Oh my word. Those last couple of sectors really put the whole lap together there. But what can Pete Harrod do in a wear response? Look at that on the exit. He's really going for it now. Where's the Jordan going to go? Where will it find itself? Potentially onto the front row. Yes, he does, but not onto pole position, slotting in behind Ben Hoffman. But oh my word, this is where we do see some exciting moments, and it's only going to be getting quicker from here on out as Tim Perry and last season's champion Cam Dance take to the circuit for their flying laps.
They absolutely do. We've got Tim Perry, then the first of the Ferraris on our screens for this season. Going into the first chicane, just taking his time. He said he was really struggling with getting the car to go quickly through the slow stuff. You know, he's not been getting on with this circuit that well, so we're going to hope for him that he can just get this one lap together, and then he has to just make sure that he can concentrate on the race. But look at the way that this car moves around this circuit. It does look like it's on a real knife edge. And don't forget, they've got 42 laps in this race. It's a really long race here at Winton. Well, then again, I say it's long, but it's just as long as any others. But in terms of how many circulations you do with this place, it's going to be the most that we're going to see all season. The other car on the circuit at the moment is this thing, the Winfield Williams Mechachrome of Cam Dance. And I love the look of this car. So many people hated it. It's not as pretty as the Rothmans car, but I'll tell you what, I think especially on this little machine as well, it looks absolutely awesome. Cam really throwing it about now. And what's nice to know, Jack, is that we've only got 3 cars left after this, and qualifying is only 9... Sorry, Ed. I've done that already before. That is, there's only 20 minutes nearly gone of this session now, and we're almost done. Whereas some of the sessions last season were 50-odd minutes.
There we go, Tim Perry coming out of the final corner. He's had a really nice lap here. It hasn't been too on the limit, but it has been looking really nice and clean, and that could be enough to get him a good result here as he comes across the line. Only 5th fastest is Cam Dance. Now out of the final, or rather into the final corner. Purple 3rd sector. He's really got the car coming alive now as he makes his way out of the final bend and into the start-finish straight across the line. Is it enough? It could be close. Has he done it? Is he on to provisional pole position? Yes, he is. 1/10 better than Ben Hoffman's effort earlier on in the session. And you're right, Chaz. It really does fly by this session, as we now have Jake Cranstone and Kevin Zemstra out on the circuit.
We do indeed.
First of the McLarens.
Yes, Jake Cranstone finishing 3rd in pre-season testing. Very quick, very exciting young man as well. Through the first chicane, nice and tidy, clips the curb a little bit on the left. There's only 1,000th of a second between Tim Perry and Tom Minot as well in the middle of the pack there. So again, just shows you how close this is. Oof. Jake Cranstone with a purple sector 1 straight away. He's really on it here. I think he was fastest in practice as well. Either that or it might have been Zemstra. But he is really pushing now, is Jake. And he's certainly got this car figured out around here. And it's not to say that just because people weren't fastest or right up there in pre-season testing that they wouldn't be up there tonight, you know, because that's just the beauty of it. That's the beauty of this racing, is that we get the unpredictability. We just sort of use the cars and the liveries as a slight indicator to how quick these people are. And obviously it keeps it slightly realistic as to what we would have seen in 1998 in terms of what cars are near the front and what cars are not. But Jake Cranstone, purple sector 1.
This is a really nice lap.
It's very tidy, isn't it?
It's so good. He's getting the apexes hooked up, using all of the runoff on the exits as well. He's got this car hooked up really nicely, and I think this lap that he's about to set will take some beating again. Look at that. White line to white line all the way around, perfectly judging the circuit. That was a really nice run out as well as he comes across the line. This is a time that will take some beating, I think, as he goes pole provisionally by nearly 4/10 of a second.
Epic stuff. Kevin Zemstra's on a decent lap actually as well. He's not too far behind here, but I think it needs to be a little bit quicker than that. I think he's about half a second off maybe. Where's he going to end up? Yeah, look at that. Identical time to Ben Hoffman. But he must have had it by just a microsecond less, because otherwise it would have put Hoffman ahead of him. So he just about gets in there. But yeah, Jake Cranstone fastest. And here is his teammate, the man that was fastest in pre-season testing, Silas Kragvrolic. He's got many a nickname. Spin Crash Vomit is one of them. And hopefully there's going to be none of that this evening. Silas and I connected today over our love of Toyota Starlets. And hopefully he's going to connect with the circuit. But look at that, Ed. He's really pushing on there in the McLaren. And he's got a little bit of cloud cover on his lap as well. That's just something you can't escape in motorsport. I do leave the dynamic sky on in these sessions because I don't want it exactly the same for everybody. And at the end of the day, it's the benefit you get of going out later in a session, isn't it? The track's a bit more rubbered in. There's been a bit more time for some grip to be put down on it. And also, the weather can affect your lap so easily here on iRacing. We do run quite cool track conditions. When we set the session up, it's 69 degrees Fahrenheit air temperature, which isn't warm at all, to be fair. I'll show you the weather on the right. Track's 36 degrees. It's only 20 degrees in the air, so it's not red hot. But it means that the drivers have got that little bit more grip to play with. He had to hesitate there, though, Ed.
Yeah, that might be the thing that stops him from going pole position, because it looked like a really clean lap up to there, and I was thinking this could be close to Cranstone's time. But that one little mistake could be the difference maker. He's the last driver out on circuit to set a lap time. Really nice, though, out of those final couple of corners. So as he breaks the time beam, will it be enough for pole position? I don't think it is, but it could be a front row start. Not even that. Wow, that looked like a much faster time. I guess it was just that hesitation that really cost him a lot of time.
Unbelievable stuff. So Jake Cranstone is going to take pole position here at Winton Raceway in the first round of the Boremula 1 World Championship by F1Countdown.com. And Silas Craig Vrolic not quite able to make it onto the front row. Only one invalidated time as well, which I must admit is a big surprise. Nico Minardi, the only one without a time on the board, and he's got some hard work to do to make it back through. But look at this now. Now that Silas has completed his lap, he's pushing so hard you can see the car moving around loads. The pressure of just doing one lap and keeping it time dead is just unreal, isn't it?
It really is, but Silas is going to have the fire in his belly to push up through this field and maybe try some quirky strategy options here, maybe going for an undercut, seeing where that puts him out on the circuit, because again, there aren't really too long of straights on this circuit, so slipstreaming will not be as prevalent as we've seen in previous races in the Formula 1 Championship. But what a lap that was by Jake Cranston. We saw it just coming through. He had it judged really nicely throughout every single corner. It was like he was at one with the car and the circuit, which everyone else has been struggling with, and that could be a real benchmark for the rest of the drivers this season to try and match Jake, because that was a really nice lap. Really good.
Yeah, that was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And very well done to Jake Cranstone. We knew that he was going to be up there in the order, and to be honest, he's just proven us right. And look at that little lineup of cars down there in the pit lane. It looks absolutely awesome, doesn't
Beautiful.
It really does. We're just going to wait for the session to tick over, and then we will get the results of qualifying, and then we'll be able to go through them and let you know exactly how they're going to line up on the grid for the very first race of the season. Just a recap as well, the races are 125 kilometres this season as opposed to the 75 that they were in Season 1. So there's always going to be a long race ahead of us here. And we're just going to have a quick look back, though, at the pole position time. We're going to have to go on board with Jake Cranstone just for the whole thing, basically. This is when he left the pit lane. I think behind him there was the Ferrari of Kevin Zemstra. But while we just get ready for the session to be complete as such, we'll pop a bit of music on and you can enjoy the pole time lap by Jake Cranstone. The session will be advanced any second now, actually, so said results should come through. It might blink in and out a little bit. And there you go. So, there's a 10-minute warm-up now, but we're just going to show you the results from quali. And then Jack and I've done it again, I'm sorry. Ed and I will go, I'm so used to it with Jack being here last season. With Ed and I will then go for a quick break. Jake Cranstone takes pole position with Cam Dance, reigning champion, alongside him. Then it's Kevin Zemstra and Ben Hoffman with Pete Harrod in 5th, meaning that we've got 5 different teams in the top 5 places. Silas Craig Vrolic was next up in 6th. Ben Chalcraft and Tom Minot are on row 4. Then we have Tim Perry and Stuart Clark on row 5, rounding out your top 10. Then it's Mike Murphy and Martin Kenyon. Simon Price and Toby Ward make it an all-white car, row 7. And it's Rob Lundgren and Gilles Gardner, the Minardi and the Tyrrell. Jack Stiles will start in 17th place ahead of Michael Jones in 18th. And then behind them we will have, when the result graphic moves, John Roberts in 19th, and Nico Minardi did not set a valid lap time. So we're going to stick the cameras on auto for a few minutes, everybody. The drivers will now get a little bit more airtime while Ed and I just go on a quick break for 5 minutes here on Chaz Draycott Media. We'll get ourselves a drink, get all sorted, and then we'll be back for the race. We'll see you in a sec. Hello again, everybody. Chaz Draycott and Ed May here for the CDM Boremula 1 World Championship by F1Countdown.com, sponsored also by Abruzzi and Sim Racing Magazine. Hope you're enjoying the show so far. Warm-up is now underway for the race, and this is going to be an exciting time indeed as everybody gets prepared for the very first round of the championship. 125 kilometres ahead of us. Should take about an hour, I believe, to get this one done. And I think it's going to be a long, very challenging race where the drivers might not know what to do with tyres, they might not know what to do with fuel. There's a hell of a lot for us to think about here, Ed, isn't there?
There really is, not just for us, of course, but for the drivers as well, in terms of how they're going to manage the race, in terms of strategy. And for me, I've got to say, I am very intrigued to see what the likes of Tim Perry is going to do on his qualifying lap. He looked very nice and measured. Wasn't necessarily pushing as hard, just getting a decent time on the board, and I think he might have been holding back just a little, so we'll see how he will perform, not just in the race, but in terms of the whole race distance as well. Looking after the tyres is something that's so crucial, and from my experience racing against and with Tim, he's been really good at that, so that could be one to watch out for as well. We can't mention the upcoming race without talking about our pole sitter and the absolutely, I think it's fair to say, stonking lap from Jake Cranstone. That was an absolute belter, and you can see now he's making his way out onto the circuit, practicing starts, which is something that we know all too well as being crucial at the beginning of these races, because they are a little bit tricky. You do need to do some sort of wizardry with your clutch.
Yes, you
I wasn't able to figure out.
And I would never be able to figure out. As, oh, dearie me. Oh boys.
And
Cam.
That's one of the other things to worry about in the race.
Yes, it is. That was Mike Murphy there, unfortunately, being the beneficiary of that large contact there. But yeah, that's the thing. It's a tight little circuit, this, and you have to think about your pit lane entry and your pit lane exit. We might see 2 stops, we might not. It all depends on the circuits that we're going to be going to as well this season. So the drivers don't have a lot of fuel in the car as per the start of the race when the setup gets applied, but they are only allowed to carry 50% as well, at most, in the tank. So there will be a number of races this season where we will have 2 stops because we're going to be flat out so much. There might be somewhere they can get away with it, but we'll have to wait and see. We were just talking off air then, actually, in the break, Ed, but I mean, you know, it seems daft because we go off air and then we just sit here and still talk. But Simon Price, he had a great qualifying session, considering that, you know, he was right near the bottom of the pile when it came to pre-season testing. He is down there in the Tyrrell, but he got the job done, didn't he? He's right in the middle of the pack.
Yeah, and sometimes that's where you want to be at the start of the season, is to get right up in the mid-pack and realise, right, I can actually fight for things this season, and it gives you good confidence. On the flip side, being in the middle of the pack at the start of the race is probably the worst position to be in if you want to get through without damage, because, again, tight field, congested in towards the first corner, there's always room for a little nick, a little sort of prang here and there, and you'll be carrying that damage until you come into the pits. I believe the drivers have a fast repair that they can take, but it's just the one.
Yes, yeah, just the one for this season. So they do have the chance to fix the car if they do bend it slightly, but it's not easy at all to sort of get back into a rhythm with this car with the way that it can go. So they're going to have to really take their time and just be careful over the course of the run. Right then, are we ready? Are we ready, everybody? Let's do it. Jake Cranstone will start on pole position for the first round of the season alongside Cam Dance, with Kevin Zemstra and Ben Hoffman on row 2. Then it's Pete Harrod and Silas Craig Frolic on row 3, with Ben Chalcraft and Tom Minot on row 4. Tim Perry and Stuart Clark round out your top 10, ahead of Mike Murphy in the Sauber, Martin Kenyon in the Prost. Then it's Simon Price and Toby Ward, with Rob Lundgren and Gilles Gardner, Jack Stiles 17th ahead of Michael Jones, and John Roberts and Nico Minardi will line up on the back row of the grid. Keep your eye on Nico in that Prost coming through. And would you look at this grid? Would you look at this grid? Boy, am I excited for this. I am super excited for this. We're going to cycle through some cameras. No, we're not, because we're about to get underway. The first round of the championship then, in Season 2 of the CDM Boremula 1 World Championship by F1Countdown.com from Winton is underway. And would you look at Zemstra into the wall? Kevin Zemstra straight into the barrier. He got an amazing launch off the line, but threw the car sideways. I think there's been more drama further back. But incredible stuff. Cam Dance leads the race after a nightmare start from Cranstone. There's some of them 3 wide in the middle of the field. Hopefully no one over the curbs. I think Stuart Clark's had a nightmare in there as well. But my God, Kevin Zemstra's thrown it straight into the barrier. Silas is off. Silas Craig Frolic is off as well. He's had a spin, and so too has Pete Harrod. Maybe contact between the two. Oh, there's another car around. It's Simon Price in the Tyrrell. Simon Price is around, and unbelievably,
Pete Harrod's come off as well.
Yeah, Pete Harrod, I think, involved with Silas. As now Jack Styles is off. Whoa, goodness me. Styles has absolutely lawn darted it into the barrier. And Nico Minardi, well, he's gained 8 places. He's on the complete flip side of this. He's letting everyone else go off around him, and he's just driving the races. Oh, Tom Minot and Ben Hoffman now are having a drama. Goodness me.
Are they forgetting that the races are longer this season?
Yeah, they are.
Time to fight through the field. They don't need to do it all on lap 1, but I tell you what, maybe it was planned by Minardi to obviously miss out at qualifying, put him at the back of the field, and just keep out of trouble. As keeping out of trouble in front, Cam Dance leading the first lap of the first race in the second season of the Formula One Championship. And I'll tell you what, that was a great getaway. But interestingly, Chaz, as they were lining up on the grid, for some reason, it looked like Cam Dance was actually, his grid box was ahead for some reason.
Yeah.
Either that or they were next to each other. But it was a very weird system that they seem to have here. I know Australia, everything's upside down, but apparently it's backwards as well.
Yeah, it did seem a bit out of shape, didn't it, really? It looked like he was further ahead. As down the inside goes Stuart Clark here on Toby Ward. They've got Pete Harrod behind as well. Pete's not going to want to be patient in this situation in the Jordan after his spin. We're going to have a look back at some of the incidents in a moment, but we're going to let the race settle down for just a sec. Jakub Szymanski in the chat giving it the Alken wreck, seeing as it's Kevin Zemstra and Silas Craig-Vrolick that have both spun on the opening lap. We're not sure whether some of it was down to contact or what, but it's Cam Dance leading the way. Jake Cranstone second. Tim Perry is in third place. He's had a fantastic start. 6 places gained. Biggest mover is Nico Minardi right here in the Sauber Petronas at the moment. Sauber used a Ferrari engine from 1998 onwards, but branded it a Petronas engine. But yeah, Kevin Zemstra got an amazing start. Went to the left to try and get around, and then it just managed to spit itself into the wall. But reigning champion and only Williams on track tonight is leading the race. But look at Cranstone now. He's fired up.
He's ready to go for it. He's trying to stick with Cam Dance out in front, keeping within the 1 second margin. You're only too close to the cars in front because they are affected by aero wash, dirty air, and that can have an effect on the tyres, sort of scrubbing along, and extra lateral forces through them as the tyres have to work that little bit harder can cause them to wear a bit more, as we see now. This is a lovely little battle. Pete Harrod going down the inside of Stuart Clark, who I think acquiesces that position more than anything else. Does well, though, to avoid getting overtaken in the same breath by Silas Craig-Vrolick, who is trying to carve his way up through the field again. And there we go. Up ahead of Nico Minardi goes Silas after a very exciting and, let's say, fairly chaotic start to the race. He's now got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, we've got a problem, I think, for Rob Lundgren. Simon Price has had a couple of spins as well. I think just some of them still trying to get acquainted to the car. But let's have a look back then at what happened to Kevin Zemstra off the start, because he got an amazing initial launch. The revs rise, gets away, turns left, and it just goes. I'm not sure if he got clipped by anyone. I don't think he did. Oh, he did. One of the Minardis just clips him there. I think that might have been Rob Lundgren. I think that's why he would have come into the pits. And then the latest drama after that was Pete Harrod and Silas. Now, did Silas go around on his own? He did. And then does Pete go off with him in avoidance? So Pete had his own moment.
I think Pete saw what was happening and tried to take evasive action, which also saw him spit off of the circuit. And then there was just a huge coming together there as
that was Price.
Jack Styles gets a little bit of a prang with, I think that was Simon Price. Yeah, well spotted, Chaz. But that was an absolutely mad start. I think what happened, oh my word, Jack Styles, what happens there? It just seems to go at him instantly as he turns into the corner.
Stuart Clark's just had a drama, and so has Silas Craig-Vrolick. Stuart's off. Silas has been off temporarily and come back on, but wow, it is kicking off here. We've had John Roberts off, Toby Ward and Stuart Clark in the time that we've had that replay. So let's have
madness.
A look. It is madness, but these are difficult cars to drive and everyone's going to hate this track. John's broken the car, I think, already at some point. This is what happened with Toby Ward. Oh, Toby slams on the brakes, hits the curb, has a spin. And I think Stuart Clark is going to have a moment after this. I think Silas goes past him. Silas goes down the inside. Oh, just coming together mid-corner. Pete Harrod's already off the road in front of them. And then Stuart just gets dragged out wide and has to sort of linger back on. But boy, it's chaos. Just literally, as Medmo says that in the chat. This is Stuart Clark now looking down the inside of Gilles Gardner. Two of them racing together in Porsche Club of Great Britain Sim Racing Championship, and through he goes. But let's have a look at the front, because this is Cam Dance leading from Jake Cranstone, first and second. Then they've got 6 seconds over Tim Perry behind. Now, what we were used to last season, Ed, on these bigger circuits was the sort of lead train of cars being like 9 cars long and everyone slipstreaming each other. But right now, it's a different kettle of fish, this track. It's thrown up a right wobbler, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And the obviously the medium downforce as well lessens the strength of the slipstream a little bit extra. So that could also be playing its part in the scenes that we're seeing here, but also maybe in terms of the drivers not necessarily being able to lean on the downforce as much, and obviously with the lack of mechanical grip as the tyres are pretty much stone cold from the start. That's, I think, the reason why we've been seeing plenty of people getting caught out, unfortunately. But that was an absolute mad start. I think what happened to Zemstra was at the start, you obviously need to keep the clutch in as you're moving, and I think he just sort of bled off the clutch a little bit too much, and it over-revved on him, and that was what sent him spinning out into the barrier. That was really unfortunate. Again, that's something that the drivers, they have to run right on the limits to get a good start, and sometimes if you do just step a little bit too far past them, that's exactly what can happen, sadly. But throughout all of the chaos, the biggest mover through the field, Nico Minardi, just by keeping his nose clean and out of trouble, is up into the top 10 in 9th place.
11 places gained by Nico Minardi at the moment. What a fantastic run he's having. A big shout out as well to the 2 drivers we don't have here tonight, unfortunately. Sam Bentham for for Benetton. I should know that because it's Benetton. And we do not have with us Sam Fitzpatrick either in the other of the Williams, as there's a battle going on here between Martin Kenyon and Pete Harrod. Martin, one of our most improved drivers. He was very brand new to road racing before last season when he first got into this car, and he's improved and improved. He's just trying to keep Pete Harrod behind at the moment. Pete's on a bit of a warpath going forward though, knowing that mistake earlier on is definitely not ideal. Down the inside goes Pete. He got promoted to Williams partway through last season, so we know that Pete is very, very quick. Nearly won a race actually at the Nürburgring late on in the season. There's a battle going on here. We're over Rob Lundgren getting overtaken by Jack Stiles. And he's got his teammate Toby Ward a lap ahead of him. These two are a lap down on the field as Toby's now off the road. So they're not a lap behind Toby anymore, unfortunately. Gilles Gardner goes through in the Tyrrell. It's absolute chaos, isn't it? And Kevin Zemstra, I'm glad to say, is still running. He's chasing down Simon Price for 19th place. And he's actually on the same lap as about 4 of the cars directly in front of him here. He's just got to be a bit patient. We need to go back to this, though, because there's a battle going on here. Silas Craig Vrolik has gone past Martin Kenyon. So too is Minardi, and Ben Hoffman was right with him as well. Oh, the patience that these drivers are having to have around here when there's a check-up in front is unbelievable, Ed. I've not seen it like this before.
No, it isn't. Again, that's, I think, the joys and woes of Winton, as we can see that the drivers need to be a little bit more careful and patient when trying to overtake. Because, there's a bit of a lock-up there from Martin Kenyon. And, again, the patience from Ben Hoffman to not send up the inside and just have to sit tight and essentially wait for the car ahead to recollect itself. It's not worth trying an overtake when a car's sort of off balance, because it can quite easily get speared into you, and then you find yourself with, well, the chance either to make an overtake or to get significant damage and have your race completely ended in one moment. So the smart head prevailed on that occasion. Just look at Cranston, he's really hooking the car up nicely, getting those apexes nailed and sticking close. The cam dad's not giving him any room to breathe, just letting him know he's right there. I don't know if he's going to be intent on making the moves just yet, but simply by staying behind at this range, well, Cam will know exactly what that means, and that he will not be having an easy time of it tonight, that's for certain.
Yeah, definitely not, and it's a great thing to see, isn't it, that we could have this potential fight at the front of the field. You know, it's such a high level this season. It's, Martin Kenyon's gone off, that's near the end of the lap, is it not? No, that's the first corner, actually. That's down at the first chicane. Gets going again, doesn't look like the car's got any damage. I'm afraid Rob Lundgren has had a moment as well. He's had a spin and I think has gone back to the pits. As, dearie me. As, just gets missed there by Gilles Gardner, and there's John Roberts, his teammate. Oh, John loses it in avoidance. Minardi's imploding for just a moment there. And then John gets back on with the job. But yeah, this battle at the front between these two is fantastic. And we've also got a good battle now sort of shaping up for 3rd position for a podium spot here. Tim Perry started 9th. Mike Murphy, well, he started down in 11th place. So the Saubers both having great recovery drives at the moment. Nico Minardi's now up 12 places. He's got Silas Craig Vrolik behind him, so with no disrespect meant to Nico, I think Silas is going to be inevitable here because he was the fastest guy in pre-season testing. He's effectively Mika Hakkinen this season. But Nico and his teammate Mike Murphy are both doing a great job.
Silas has been behind Nico for quite some time now. Nico's been making his own pace up through the field, and Silas has been quite content to actually stay behind during these opening few laps. So I think, for me, it seems that Silas is just happy where he is at the moment. He knows that Nico Bernardi has got some good pace, and having a look at the most recent laps, his pace is not that far off of the cars ahead. So I think for the moment, Silas is not really in any rush and just looking to, more than anything else, focus on keeping the car in one piece rather than trying any daring overtakes just yet. There's plenty of time still to go in this race. Cam Dance, the view back through the Winfield rear wing is that of a very hungry McLaren right up behind him. But that is so great to see, isn't it, that we've got close battling up at the front for the very best positions, and a little look to the inside. Not any real intent with the move, but more just to obviously fill the wing mirrors that little bit more. Look at this.
Yeah, he's starting to play the mind games here, Jake, but what he doesn't want to do right now is overdo it himself. He doesn't want to try and throw it down the inside and have a look and then sort of put himself out for the corner. You can see, look, he's pushing through there, and if I'm honest with you, he's going to be very close to overstepping the mark if he's not too careful. But look at the way they're attacking the curbs. The confidence that these two both have at the front of the field is really sensational. The battle carries on behind as well, and then Nico and Silas in the middle of the field are still together. Toby Ward has got a bit of damage on the front of his car. He's ahead of the Tyrrell of Gilles Gardner, and then John Roberts behind him in the Minardi. There's a lot of light coloured cars in the sort of lower reaches of the field. There's Simon Price following his direct teammate on the circuit, but is unfortunately a lap down at the moment. So too is Jack Stiles and Kevin Zemstra and Rob Lundgren. Michael Jones is still circulating, but he's 2 laps down at this moment in time. He's been struggling with the car a little bit through this middle part of the race. He's just staying out of people's way. As going through there is Ben Hoffman in the Benetton. He's lost 6 spots from where he started. Other than Kevin Zemstra, he's lost the most ground in the race so far, I'm afraid. And we know that Ben is capable of strong results, so hopefully that comes his way. We're only about a quarter of the way through the race at the moment here, actually, Ed, so there's plenty more to go in this one. And I think that we're going to have a very lively time of it. The drivers are certainly going to hate me by the end of it, I know that. But it's certainly an intriguing one, that is safe to say. Tim Perry and Mike Murphy right together still for 3rd place. It's just tantalising knowing how easily it could go wrong at any point of this race.
First pit stop, I think a scheduled one for Silas Krajvolik. I don't think that was down to any damage. I think he's trying a alternate strategy. Oh my word, Tim Perry, he's gone way off and he's going to be having to cut across the circuit. That's going to be a hefty slowdown penalty. In fact, I think that will be a stop and go penalty. Let's have a look. It was just a little bit of
my goodness.
The car just understeers out wide, and as soon as you get onto the dirt and the grass, the momentum will just carry him across the circuit. He cuts out essentially half a lap. So I expect to say that he'll be getting a hefty slowdown or a stop to do, which I think he's going to have to serve pretty sharpish. But that's basically almost in an instant put to bed his hopes of a podium.
That's absolutely devastating, isn't it? It really is for Tim Perry. He was having such a good run up to that point, but he has not quite pulled off the best move of the race there, to say the least. He's got Ben Chalcraft now within a second of him. Ben's having a good run. The Circuit Superstars guys are having a fantastic night here. A lot of them
Mike Murphy up in the 3rd.
I know, yeah. Mike Murphy's now on the podium in the Sauber Petronas, so Circuit Superstars fans will rejoice at that. They will be loving it. We don't want to pay too much attention to him, though, because of the commentator's curse. We're going to just leave him be and let him go, because, unfortunately, we've got John Roberts off the road. There is Silas Krajvolik coming through, but you're right. Silas is the first to make what looked like a kind of scheduled stop. I'm not sure, though, because it's only, 12 minutes in and a bit more after that, because it's only about a minute and a bit a lap here. So, Medmo saying there that the new racing line by Tim Perry is not approved by the stewards. That's very true. James Holman, good to see you, mate, says, love the retro graphics. Thank you very much. I spent hours on these and tore my hair out, so I'm glad that they're coming in handy and being noticed. But what's being noticed right now is that Jake Cranstone is filling the mirrors of Cam Dance still at this point of the race. Now, there's not much slipstreaming and fuel saving going on here, Ed, so he's not got too much to gain by sitting there, but at the same time, he's just got an easy ride of just filling those mirrors, hasn't he, and making sure that he stays with Cam before the pit stops really shake things up.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, part of me is thinking of something to say which might tempt fate, but I know that I have a very, very severe commentator's curse, so I'll keep it stum for now, but maybe I'm just thinking it might allow it to happen. We'll see as the race goes on, but I have to say, great to see that battles are still close as ever, up and down through the field. Got Jake Cranston again, just piling the pressure on. You know, Cam Dance isn't one to crack under pressure. He's been a driver that's raced up at the front of many a race here in the Formula One. I believe he's the most winningest driver from last season, as well as being, of course, the champion.
Yeah, I
So
think
he knows exactly how to convert these situations into those results.
I think it was something stupid last season where Cam won 6 of the first 7 races or something, and he won, I think, 8 races all season where nobody else won more than 1. Cam was just insatiable, you know, he knew the strategy, he knew how to play the game. Brian Lloyd's in the chat asking for an on-board lap. I saw you on the Twitch chat a moment ago as well, Brian, so apologies that we haven't done that. This isn't Radio 2, but still, it's good to have an on-board lap and just show you what this nightmare of a circuit is like. It's a really interesting place. I mean, look at the shape of it. Tim Perry's come into the pits. I think that might be him serving that penalty from a few laps ago, but we will have to wait for confirmation on that. But Jake Cranstone really doing a good job at the moment of chasing down the current race leader and reigning champion Cam Dance. Nico Minardi has now gained 13 spots to get up to where he is at this moment in time. We're going to keep our eye on Tim Perry's pit stop though, because it's either, well, once it gets past about 15 seconds, which is how long Silas Craig Frolic was stationary for, we know it's going to probably be a penalty, and I think you're absolutely right, Ed. It's now going past 19, 20 seconds, yeah. So Silas's stop was about 15 seconds. We'll show you in here. That's how long they were in the pits, 15.7 for Craig Frolic, who's now just about to go past. BBC Radio Chaz in the evenings, apparently, says Medmo. Yeah, you're not wrong, mate. You're not wrong. Oh, it sounded like someone had a bit of a drama there and got going again. I think Toby Ward just getting back up to speed in the Stewart with a T. Yes, Tim Perry is still stationary, so I believe still serving a penalty of sorts. He'll be absolutely devastated after that. Really, really devastated as he does get going now after 54.4 seconds. So that has lost him a big, big load of time. So Cam Dance still leads the race. It's about 0.4 of a second. And we're used to seeing that glowing green visor out at the front of the pack, aren't we, Ed? Well, then again, you used to look at the car from behind, but, you know...
I wasn't that close enough to even get that, you may. I was nowhere near Cam Dance's pace. He was just on fire. I mean, it was only the opening round of the season where I was able to somewhat match the pace of the front runners by getting onto the front row, but from then on out, it was a... bit of a possession backwards through the field for me, sadly, as everyone else got quicker and I sort of stayed at that level or somehow got worse. It's one of those cars, though, that does need a lot of time to really get to know and to figure out all the little quirks and sort of little idiosyncrasies that the car can have, moments where it's threatening to oversteer, threatening to understeer, and it's something you can't really describe. You can only really, I guess, feel it, and from experience, it's something that you just get that inkling as you come into a corner. Oh, this is going to be one of those corners. Right, here we go then. And you've got to sort of deal with it as it comes. But I'll tell you what, I have been really happy to see Mike Murphy fighting up there in the front in that Sauber, because I think the 22 Sauber is the... I think that car, because where he was in pre-qualifying, I think meant that he would have been taking my vacancy.
Yes, indeed. He would have been.
The number 1 Sauber for this season. Last season was, I think, Johnny Herbert's. I think I was taking over.
Yes. Yeah, this season was John O'Lacey was in the one with the red spot, the red head surround actually. And then it would have been, I think it was Johnny Herbert in the yellow one, secondary one, I'm not sure. I remember I think there was a couple of drivers that season. I think it was the year before where they had Larini and then Diniz as the championship went on. But Diniz was at Arrows for a lot of the season. Trulli was at Minardi, then went to Prost and then did even better than Nakano when he was at Prost and so on. But there was not much driver changing in 1998 from what I remember. I think there was only a couple of times when teams had 3 drivers. I think it was Stewart got rid of Jan Magnussen for Jos Verstappen partway through the campaign, and other than that I think it was all good. I don't think there was anybody else really in terms of a 3-car team, so yeah, it remained quite stationary. Pete Harrod comes into the pit lane. I think this is going to be a scheduled stop. 15.7 is the fastest stop and only real sort of representative stop we've seen so far from Silas Craig-Vrolik. But Pete into the pits as Stuart Clark goes past in the Arrows in 8th position. Stuart started 10th in this race, so he's gained 2 places, and I always say, Ed, if you can finish where you started or ahead of that, it's not a bad day at the office.
Not at all, no. So we'll be seeing exactly how Stuart Clark will fare. Obviously, with the pit stops coming through, he might be shuffled back through the order. You never really know. There are some quick drivers that have been shuffled back that will obviously inevitably try and get themselves higher up the field than where they find themselves now. So the likes of Tim Perry, Zemstra as well in the mix there, that we're looking to climb as much as they can. Obviously, the longer races do help out drivers that get involved in those lap 1 incidents, but it won't be able to completely reverse the damage, as out in front, Cam Dance and Jake Cranston, they're still keeping themselves about half a second, but with this Nico Minardi battle that he's finding himself in, he's got Tom Minot just ahead, and then right up his rear end is Ben Hoffman.
Yeah, Ben in the Benetton looking very good right now. Not sure he's going to go for it down this turn 1. It'd be a bit of a risky move to try it, to be fair. He's just playing it nice and safe through there for now. But you know that Ben's going to try and line it up into the next right-hander. He's maybe going to look down the inside here. It's not a circuit where you can always send it, but it's one where you have to really take your chances, to be honest with you. Nico's just got to keep his head here and make sure that doesn't fall by the wayside, and of course lose Tom Minot in front of them. Tom qualified 8th and has moved up 3 places so far. Pete Harrod's pit stop, by the way, was 13.6 seconds as opposed to Silas's 15.7, so he's gained about 2 seconds on him there as well. So Pete having the first of the stops, maybe to, I don't think he was in any traffic or anything. Then again, you're always in traffic around Winton. Look at it. They're very spread out at the moment. There's a car stopped, apparently, which, no, that was car number 9, not car position 9. Rob Lundgren is off and in the wall. John Roberts has also come to a stop as well in the Minardi. Hopefully not a related incident again, because the Minardi's imploded a little bit earlier. Oh, Rob's just lost the back end on the way in, and it's not going to stop. No, it's such a painful moment. And it hits the wall quite hard, and then John's had a spin out of the final corner, or into the final corner, I should say, and he's used it as an opportunity to go into the pits. So Minardi not having a good time, and Hoffman actually into the pits now. He thinks, right, I'm not going to spend all of this time trying to get past Nico. I'm just going to get on with it now.
What's Nico going to do in response? Will he carry it on, or will he be coming into the pits right after to try and keep position? Gonna have to see as well, because Nico Minardi's catching up to Tom Minot, and he's going to start to think, oh, do I need to do the same thing to get ahead of Tom now? So it's going to be interesting, as all the drivers are starting to now think about their pit stops. Obviously the threshold to try and make it till the end of the race, at least be guaranteed to only need 1 pit stop, would be around about the 21 lap mark, which I think Cam Dance and Jake Cranston will be aiming for. Jake Cranston really picking up the pace now. Look at that, he's just all over the back of Cam Dance. A little bit of front end damage picked up as Cam Dance again just dipping a couple wheels out onto the through the exit of turn 3. And it's something the drivers need to be careful of, because we've seen time and time again that little bit of dirt, getting a couple of wheels out onto there, just it sends you straight on, doesn't it? You essentially tramline as soon as you get onto the dirt and the grass, and that's already caught out a few drivers. The most notable one of that was, of course, Tim Perry.
Yeah.
Following his descent from 3rd place. So that's one thing that Cam Dance has to be really careful of from now, is trying not to push too hard, because one little mistake and this circuit punishes you severely.
Someone that's been punished severely on that lap, I think, is Ben Chalcraft. A lot of the cars have got left-hand damage, not just on the front wings, but on the side pods as well, I think, where they've hit these curbs. So we're definitely not coming back here, because they're ruining my pretty liveries. But Ben Chalcraft has been having an under-the-radar performance in 4th place here. We've got 3 of the Circuit Superstars boys in the top 6, which is great to see. They've all been very supportive of Formula 1, and a lot of them actually just got involved with iRacing to start racing in my leagues, which is a lovely compliment. I must say I'm very, very grateful for their support. But I think Ben had a bit of a nightmare lap because he was about 0.6 of a second slower than Tom Minot on that previous one, and Tom is now within a second of him in the gorgeous Arrows Yamaha, the black machine. Rob Lundgren in the YouTube chat saying he tried to save it and his right knee is not agreeing with him. I'm really sorry to see it, Rob. I hope you're all good, my friend. And it sounds like someone had come to a stop there. Michael Jones, I think, has just had his final drama of the race. He's just popped back to the pits. We still do have 18 cars running though. Simon Price is still out there. He's trying to chase down John Roberts. Kevin Zemstra and Tim Perry are both outside of the top 10 at this moment in time as well, and they're hoping for something to come their way. Martin Kenyon now into the pits here, Ed, for his first stop of the race.
It's so pivotal, this moment of the race. I think Martin's going to be the first to see if he can make it until the end now. Putting in on lap 21, the halfway marker for the first race of the season. Tell you what, time does fly. It doesn't feel like we've had half the race gone already. It's been really, really exciting just to see these different battles, and I think one that could start to come to fruition is that little battle for 3rd, 4th, 5th. I think that's going to be one that will really start to, of course, with the addition of the battle for the lead, as Ben Chalcraft went straight through there into the pit lane. He's trying to save as much time as he can. Obviously a quick pit entry and exit could be the difference between gaining and losing a position here, because it's so difficult to overtake. Anytime you can gain on there will help you out massively as you're coming out onto the circuit, because of course the way the pit exit works, it puts you essentially right on the apex of the first corner.
Yeah, you have to be so careful on your way out, don't you? And I tell you what's quite interesting tonight is that we've not really had more than one car in the pits at a time, because last season everybody would all pit at the same time. There'd be a train of about 7 cars for the lead, and then it's really sort of thrown up a different kettle of fish as these sort of longer races for this season. The whole top 10 are on the lead lap at the moment. Everyone else is a lap down at this moment in time, so it's very much like Formula 1 used to be. You've got the 2 leaders, which was usually Villeneuve and Hakkinen, or Villeneuve and Schumacher, or Schumacher and Hakkinen, and then you've got everybody else miles behind. But you know, it's not that that's a bad thing necessarily. We've got great battles going on all the way throughout. Look at Jake Cranstone really pushing this car at the moment. It's battered and bruised though, but Cam Dance's car is looking brand new almost, isn't it? It's looking very good. I don't even think he's got side pod damage either. So Cam's looking after the car by the look of it, and you can tell that Jake has been the one that's been really pushing, but Fast Repair will sort that.
It's a little bit easier, of course, just to look after the car in the league, because you don't have the dirty air to contend with. So Cam Dance can just keep hitting his marks time and time again, and the car will behave as it always has done, whereas Jake in behind has to deal with the varying levels of grip that he'll be facing, being a little bit closer, a little bit further back. The car will never be acting the exact same way every time he comes up to each corner, and that's something that he's really having to contend with. And you can see just by the battle scars that the car has already accrued that it's one that will be, I think, really grating on him until the end of the race, or until he can get ahead of Cam Dance on board, this time with Kevin Zemstra following his charge up through the field. There's a little bit of a blink in and out there from Jack Stiles, which is not what you want to be seeing if you're Kevin going into these tight twisty corners at the mid part of the lap, because if the car does vanish then all of a sudden reappear inside you, well, it's not going to be a good time, that's for certain. As Mike Murphy now from 3rd place comes into the pits, and who do we need to watch out for in terms of gaining or losing out on those positions? I think the first one to watch out for is Pete Harrod.
Yes.
Came in on lap 16.
Yeah, and he's actually jumped Ben Chalcraft as well. Pete is really on a mission here in the Jordan, so he's pushing on. He was behind Ben before the pit stops, and he's gapped him now by about 5.5 seconds. So he certainly wants to keep an eye on Mike Murphy. Is already moving though. So we'll go on board with Pete as he comes around the final corner. Look out for that Sauber emerging from the left-hand side from the pit lane. I don't think Pete's going to be close enough to do anything. There he is in the distance. but you can bet your bottom dollar that Pete is going to go chasing now. He's still got 18 laps left to go with this race. Just don't tell any of them, because they'll probably just quit on the spot because it's going to be painful. But Pete is really on it right now. He really is. I'll show you the pit stops on the left so you know who has stopped. Mike Murphy is the driver that is the top of those that has pitted, as Toby Ward has gone for a big excursion. He needs to be careful about coming back on, because he needs to get on with it here, because he's just outside the points. Hello. That was Tim Perry. Points go down to 12th, by the way, so Martin Kenyon is currently in the final point-scoring position. Neither Ferrari are in the pits. In the points. There's Cranstone. Cranstone's in before Cam Dance. Now, that's interesting. I expected him to come in after Cam Dance.
Where will he find himself? Will he find himself in traffic, or has he got enough of a gap to Tom Minot in behind? No, Tom has jumped ahead.
Yeah.
So has Nico Minardi. Where is Stuart Clark? Because I think for this strategy to work out, okay, he's going to find himself in a little bit of a bubble now, Jake, which will be good. He's got to now wait for Nico Minardi and Tom Minot to make their pit stops, but he isn't a world away from that number 13 Sauber, so that could be interesting if traffic plays a part, but he's not been able to fix the car up. I guess he's untipped this fast repair. It still feels good. I guess he can't see the extent of the damage because that front wing is not healthy at all.
And I think that's only got worse over what must have been the last lap or so, because it wasn't that bent earlier on, so I'm not quite sure what's gone on there, but Jake clearly feeling confident to push on, at least with how it is. But the race right now, with pit stops pending from a few of them, is Cam Dance still leading the way, the reigning champion, looking to start his campaign how he finished the last one at Suzuka with a race win. Tom Minot doing a great job in second place at the moment. He's gained 6 spots from where he started at this present moment. Nico Minardi started last on the grid after not putting in a valid time in qualifying, and he's now up to 3rd. So Nico really being the sort of example of consistency so far through this race and staying out of trouble, and he runs 3rd. But behind him there is Jake Cranstone, that is rightly 2nd in this race, but 4th on track at this moment in time. Another reminder of who still needs to stop: Stuart Clark, Gilles Gardner and Toby Ward, and then the top 3 basically.
Cam Dance still carrying on.
Yeah, he's not coming
Not
again.
pitting at all, not responding to Jake Cranston's early stop, which, I don't know, it could be a statement that he's fine where he is. He doesn't want to be worrying about anyone else's strategy. Never mind, look at that, coming straight into the pits now.
Yep, here he comes. Reigning champion, race leader. Amazing start as well for Cam Dance. And it's been perfect for the New Zealander up to this point. I think that car looks fantastic, to be fair. It's one of my favourites on the grid. I really do love it. Where is Jake Cranstone? He is just about to come into the left-hander here before the last sort of sector of the lap. As off the circuit again has gone Toby Ward. He's had another spin. Now, one thing that's worth noting, actually, tonight, Ed, is that the drivers do have... There's no incident limit in the session, but there is an incident limit for the race. So, for every... I think it's 2 incident points over the limit of 25 that they can get, they get a 5-second penalty added onto their overall race time. And look at that, Cam Dance 12.7 seconds in the pits, Jake Cranstone 13.9, and that is now the gap for the race lead. So Cam has left him.
Oh my word, that was a really good run through the pits by Cam Dance. I'm trying to remember who it was that fell the most foul of that last season.
As if you don't remember. Morgan Butler.
Was it Morgan Butler? I remember all
Morgan at
the
Imola.
shenanigans at Imola.
Yeah, Morgan at Imola. He didn't remember there was an incident limit, and I think it was 25 then as well, and he got 42 or something, and he didn't realise that 5-second penalties were going to get given out. Ben Hoffman has jumped Nico Minardi in the pits, and that's exactly what he wanted to do earlier. Silas Craig Rollick has jumped the pair of them and got into 8th place. So there's been a lot of movement there. I think John Roberts has just had a drama there. He is coming back on in the Minardi. I know a number of drivers aren't going to be my friend after tonight. They're not going to have enjoyed this. This is Tom Minot. He's surely got to be due into the pits anytime soon. There you go, making his way in now as Cam Dance will re-inherit the race lead. Joachim Ebert's in the chat. He says, great series, Chaz. Greetings from EB. Great to see you, mate. EB is the German commentator for the Goodyear FIA European Truck Racing Championship and a good friend of mine. And I cannot wait to be working together again this year, Evie. I'm really looking forward to it. Oops, I've not announced it on my website yet. Both of the Arrows Yamahas are in. Those two having a scary moment there, actually, as Gilles Gardner leaves. But this is going to be the first time either of them have pitted now. So they're both coming in on the same lap. Potentially making an effort of doing that together. Gilles Gardner back out on circuit. Outside of the points, unfortunately. That was Jack Stiles going past him. Only one of the Ferraris right now in the points, and that is Tim Perry. Kevin Zemstra just behind. As here comes Tom Minot. Ben Chalcraft goes through. He was ahead of him earlier. Silas Craig-Vrolic is the next car, and Silas, well, he is really pushing on now. Look at him go. He's absolutely on it. We've still got 14 laps this race left to go now, though, Ed, so plenty of time left in the tank for this to be completed. Are all the pit stops done? Yes, they are. So, oh no, Silas! Oh my God, what's he doing?
Sometimes, you know about heart in their mouth, felt like the heart was just completely falling out of his backside there. That was absolutely nightmarish.
I'm glad you said it like that, because I was going to say it a completely different way that probably wasn't professional.
I was thinking it as well. I had to quickly think about how to phrase that one because, oh my word, when you have something like that happen, your stomach, it just drops because you've worked so hard throughout the race from the setbacks earlier, and then just through one moment, you're like, oh my days. Well, hell, look at how much he swung the steering wheel left and right.
That was insane.
Somehow finding the grip. Oof.
Yeah, absolutely love that. Absolutely love
Hats
that
off.
from Silas. Great save. So, now what? We've got Cam Dance leading the race then. Jake Cranstone second. Mike Murphy is in third place ahead of Pete Harrod, but there's not much between those two, actually. There's only a second in it at this moment in time. Pete wants a podium. Mike wants a podium on his debut in the championship. Ben Chalcraft is next up in 5th, Tom Minot 6th, Silas Craig-Vrolic 7th, Ben Hoffman is 8th, Nico Minardi 9th, and Stuart Clark is 10th. And rounding out the points finishers at present are Martin Kenyon and Tim Perry. And we did say that, you know, no disrespect to some of these guys that are up there near the front, but we knew it was going to be a big shake-up in terms of the order compared to what we saw in pre-season testing, but this is the sort of round that you've got to make it through and then have the mental strength to sort of bounce back from for later seasons, because after this we go to Interlagos, which is going to be a lot wider and a lot faster and a lot more slipstreamy.
Yeah, that's going to be one of the races of all time. I think it's fair to say Interlagos in these little. Again, I'm going to keep calling them because that's exactly what they are, little pocket rockets.
Oh, they are.
On a circuit like that, that's going to be a heck of a race for certain. So you've got to obviously deal with the car through the first sort of section of corners. We've got that elevation change in the car. We're trying to break away from you at all points. Going to turn 1, that's going to be spicy to say the least, as we have a spicy battle starting to brew here. Ben Hoffman chasing down Silas Craig-Vrolic, and did Silas potentially pick up some floor damage from that incident? Because looking at it, Ben's been reeling him in ever since that little moment.
Yeah, Ben did his best lap of the race as well last time around, a 1:15.46, and Silas did a 15.7. Tom Minot also did his best as well, so it might not be representative of Silas's pace, but more the guys around him that are at the fastest they have been throughout this race. Tim Perry is closing in on Martin Kenyon a bit further down as well. The Ferrari chasing down the Prost, hoping to gain an extra championship point here because Tim is on his way to only 1 at the moment. John Tusting asking if Tim Perry made the pit stop window before he had to serve his penalty. He did, yes, he would have done. Anything penalty-wise or damage-wise, they're basically immune from the pit window. We only say that people have to pit after the first 10 laps of the race in this championship. I think at Spa, because there's a lot less laps, it's going to be the first 8 laps. I think it's going to be, as there was a bit of a move round in the field there for a moment, but I think Tim Perry just not able to get ahead of Martin Kenyon just yet. As there you go, I think Martin's just staying out of the way. He says after you, sunshine, after ye. And there is the move. Nico Minardi behind Ben Hoffman right now, and he's a good sort of 4 seconds back on the guys ahead, but still starting at the back of the grid. He's up into the points. Toby Ward has had another drama. Oh dearie me, that's Martin Kenyon as well. Martin getting involved. That was just after we cut away from them. The leader's going through, so this is what happened to Toby. Is it just going to slowly go around? Oh, goodness me. And then Martin Kenyon goes to avoid him and then loses it on the grass on the exit. And somehow the race leaders don't make contact there. That was Cam Dance
had to. He lost a lot of time actually in giving that one up. His last lap was a 16.37.
Wow.
So Jake Cranston's been really starting to use that to his advantage and reeling him in. A lot of times we've seen the top 2 drivers have been essentially traded. They're going tit for tat right now, and I think Jake needs to get a bit of a hurry on and again try and pile the pressure on, get within that little slipstream window if at all possible. But maybe that front end damage is just proving a little bit too much and preventing him from doing those fast laps that we know he can do. Fastest lap of the race so far is currently the way of Jake Cranston. So speaking of points, it's could be a pivotal extra championship point there going his way over the course of the season. You never know, do you, Chaz, exactly how this championship may pan out. Oh my word, what was going on there? That was a very interesting. I think that was one of the Prosts. Was that again Martin Kenyon?
Yeah, it was, unfortunately. It's all fallen apart a little bit in the later stages here for Martin. He's now outside of the points. He's got Zemstra and Styles ahead. Whoa, that's a proper off, that is. And I think he's gone to the effort of driving back to the circuit as well, rather than cutting through. John Susting said it meant more about getting enough fuel in. Yeah, I think he would have been okay, to be fair. The car starts with quite a little amount of fuel in it, but then they can fill it up to 50% of the tank's normal amount. So I'm pretty sure that based on what we've seen tonight, most of the races this season are going to be one-stoppers, if not all of them. We'll have to wait and see. This is Mike Murphy, third place at the moment, 9 laps to go, and that is Pete Harrod behind him in the Jordan, hoping to take away his podium spot. So we've got an interesting chase on our hands here. Ben Chalcraft is 10 seconds behind this, and he's got Tom Minot within a second of him. Still has Craig Rollick is only a few seconds back with Ben Hoffman chasing him down. And Ben has done everything right at the moment to stick with the McLaren. So there's a lot of potential here for teams and drivers to shimmy around.
Yeah, shaking it up and seeing what will happen. Just watching the times now between the two leaders, again, nearly identical between Cameron Dance and Jake Cranston, both doing 15.2s.
Yep.
I think this lap, though, Cam Dance has been extending his advantage. We'll see across the line, but I think he's had a much faster lap here. His best of the race so far. Whereas Jake Cranston, I think with the damage, he's not at the same pace he was earlier on in this race.
Yeah.
His best so far was actually in the 14s, and he's just nowhere near that at the moment.
The scary thing is that nobody else has been in the 14s all race, but he did a 14.79 as well, so he's done it by a couple of hundredths, or at least a couple of tenths. So it's not even been the fact that, you know, he's done it by like a 14.999. It's a 0.79, so that's rapid stuff. But yeah, Jake was 4 tenths slower on that last lap, and Cam Dance has just done a purple sector 2 on this lap as well. So Cam's really turned the wick up now, and he knows exactly what he wants to get out of this race, and he's going chasing after it. We saw this last season though, didn't we? Cam would have a reserved first part of the race, see where everybody is, just assess everybody's sort of position and pace, and then later on in the race he would just turn it on and be an absolute missile. Stuart Clark, I'm afraid, has just had a spin at the end of that lap. That's what the smoke calls that you saw there, but he remains in 10th place. But we need to keep our eye on this battle, you know, for third place, because Murphy and Harrod now right together. They've got 11 seconds over Ben Chalcraft, which at the end of the day is Pete Harrod's teammate anyway, so Pete's not really got a massive amount to lose by having a go at Mike here.
You just start to wonder, can Mike hang on? This would be a great result for him, gaining 8 places, up for a brilliant podium. But again, I'm not sure if he'll be able to hang on, because Pete Harrod, he's been closing that gap down lap upon lap, and it's the time when the pressure is really going to start to mount when you're into these final few laps and you're in such a high position. It does start to weigh on you, but it doesn't seem to be showing in his driving, because that was a really nice run there through the chicane by Mike. So I think it's more on Pete trying to get past Mike than anything else, rather than waiting on Mike to grumble or make a mistake, because from his driving all night long, he's been a real star.
A circuit superstar, you could say. He's been absolutely awesome this evening so far as Mike. And Pete Harrod, I mean, we all know how quick Pete is. He's a World GT champion. He's a 2-time BSR Kia Club Series champion as well. And he's also a very accomplished pilot for, I think it's Fly UK or something, UK Fly or something on Microsoft Flight Simulator. Like I say, he was round at mine the other night and we were chatting about VATSIM and stuff for about 7 hours. And had a really good laugh. I've not seen Pete in a long time, and he's a very good friend of mine that lives very local, and he's a very accomplished drifter as well. He used to have a Lexus IS 200 drift car, which he's very talented in, so he knows how to handle a car. There's only one car at the minute that is currently where it started the race, and that is Stuart Clark in 10th position. Everybody else has moved up or down in the order. I can't remember whether I've got this mapped properly on here, so please do bear with me. Yeah, it's not the ugliest thing in the world, but there are the positions gained and lost by drivers. Cam Dance has gained 1, Cranstone has dropped 1, but Mike Murphy in 3rd place has gained 8 spots, and what a drive he is having. I've also got a 3-car train developing here, you know, actually, Ed, because we've got Ben Chalcraft, Tom Minot, and Silas Craig-Vrolick, and then Ben Hoffman as well, actually. So a little 4-car quartet here, 4 different teams battling for 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th.
Yeah, this is going to be exciting to see Silas Craig-Vrolick and Ben Hoffman locking horns while also trying to get ahead of the likes of Tom Minot and Ben Chalcraft. So, as Ben Hoffman runs a little bit wide of the mark, shouldn't hurt him too much. It's just about kind of momentum through these corners. You can see that the car's just finally poised and a lot more balanced now that it's up to temperature compared to what we were seeing in qualifying. Drivers finding the car a little bit more agreeable now.
Yeah, definitely.
And we are starting to get to the point where the tyres are wearing as well, and that could be something that might catch the drivers out into the final 5 laps that we have here at Winton. Cam Dance has extended his advantage now to 3 seconds ahead of Jake Cranstone in the lead of this race. A lovely drive from last season's champion, getting off to the best start possible. Kevin Zemstra up into the points, which is going to be great news for him considering the absolutely torrid start. Just one little mistake on the clutch getting started and had a big consequence to his race, hitting the wall and dealing hefty damage. I think he might have been all right, just, but there was that little clip that he suffered, wasn't there, just afterwards, that was just so unfortunate.
Yeah, it was one of the Minardis. Oh no, Ben Chalcraft's dropped it. Ben Chalcraft with a terrifying spin all of a sudden. Tom Minot, Silas Craig-Vrolick and Ben Hoffman go through, but after so long in the race, that is how easy it is to do. Through the long right-hander he goes. He's just going to dip a wheel onto the gravel, and it's that tiny bit. He saves it so quickly, and he's so lucky not to get hit by the guys behind. And he doesn't even go off the road after that again, so he manages to get going nice and cleanly, but that is devastating for Ben Chalcraft. He was running so well, and still is in 8th place. I mean, he's still near where he started on the grid. He's only lost 1 place outright, but wow, that's going to have woken him up, that is for sure. Mike Murphy, by the way, has gapped Pete Harrod a little bit now. The gap's back up to a 2nd. It was only about 4 tenths earlier on.
Cranston's closed on Cameron.
He has.
What's going on there? Cam Dance has had an awful lap time there. He's about 2nd off of what he's been running at previously.
Yeah.
And Cranston suddenly found his pace again.
Yeah, Cranstone back on it with a 15.2. And Cam Dance 16.4. It was a 16 for Mike Murphy as well, but Pete Harrod, even though he's gained half a second on him, is still 6 tenths of a second behind. So there's definitely some fluctuation going on here. I think some tyres that are not feeling up to scratch, and that's interesting because some of the drivers may, in later races in the championship, take tyres to avoid having problems later on, as Silas Craig-Vrolick now gives the place back to Ben Chalcraft. And gives one to Ben Hoffman as well. Has he done the same thing? It's already gone. Great avoidance by Hoffman that as well, and that is going to feel like absolute backside for the last couple of laps now for Silas. He's now dropped down to 8th position. But wow, Silas and Kevin, 2 of the fastest guys in pre-season testing, really not having the races we expected from them. And Jake Cranstone, well, he's having an absolute corker. Cam Dance, though, well, he was not overwhelming in pre-season testing, admittedly, but this is what Cam does. Oh my goodness, what was that?
What on earth was that?
That wasn't what I think it was it? I
think the car's still going.
Someone blew an engine. Someone, somewhere, Toby Ward's just having...
Is it Nico Minardi?
Oh no. It was as well. What on earth has happened here to Nico? So that bang that you heard then was an engine blowing. What has caused this? Is it a downshift? Has he just blasted it on a downshift? We'll stay on board. It's so easy to do, but you've got to listen out for it. It's not this part of the circuit though, sorry. It's going to be another few corners. I just couldn't quite rewind to the exact moment because we don't get anything for it on our software. He's just nipped back to the pits. It's going to be on the downshift here, isn't it, into this corner. Ready? Oh my god, it still made me jump.
Oof.
And that's it for Nico Minardi, I'm afraid. The Sauber cries no more. And that is absolutely heartbreaking for Nico. He's been having such a good race from the back of the grid as well. And the car decides to throw its gearbox quite where... Oh no! Where Silas Craig-Frolic threw his heart before and straight out of his backside. As Mike Murphy... Sorry, go on.
I'm sorry, that's just absolutely gut-wrenching, isn't it, for Nico Minardi? And something like that happens. I mean, it's a car that's obviously fairly new to him, and it's something that is always possible to happen, as Pete Harrod does a little impromptu wheelie for us as he's chasing down a podium place. So this would be a very good podium if he can get this one pulled off just ahead of Mike Murphy, but it's not just a cup of cold stick for Nico Minardi, that's frozen and horrible bits of carrot stuck in there as well. It's not very pleasant. It's absolutely awful. From all of the hard work that he did coming up through the field to find himself right up there, fighting at one point actually up in the podium places before he had to have his pit stop. And then just like that, in one moment, it's gone.
Absolutely gone indeed. He's going to be devastated after that. Both of the Jordans are actually locked into a fight right now, to be fair, which is Silas Craig-Frolic's battle with Ben Chalcraft and Pete Harrod chasing down Mike Murphy. But Cam Dance has only got one lap and a bit left to go here at Winton in this first round of the CDM Boremula 1 World Championship by F1Countdown.com. Don't forget as well, Simtography by GCL and Morgan Butler Sim Racing Photography also doing our imagery for this season. And we also have Abruzzi Racewear on board and Sim Racing Magazine. Abruzzi are actually going to be putting up a prize for the championship as well. We're just getting confirmation on that through this week. Admittedly, I've had a lot of stuff going on and I've not been able to sort out a few things before the season, so we're a little bit behind schedule on certain parts. There's no trailer or video or anything at the moment, but hopefully there will be. But this has been a very Cam Dance performance, hasn't it, right now, Ed? He's got one lap to go here at Winton. He may not like it because we're in Australia and he's a New Zealander, but what a great drive he's had.
Yeah, exactly. A brilliant performance. Just needs to nurse it home for one more lap. I mean, he's not going to nurse it. He's going to absolutely wring the neck of this thing, because that's, I think, the only way that Cam Dance can drive this car. And why not? Hey, 100%. He's going to see if he can maybe take away the fastest lap point currently in possession of Jake Cranston for himself. Going to be tricky though, because that was a really strong time from him. Mike Murphy has one more lap to hang on.
I know.
To that podium. Pete Harrod is really piling the pressure on, looking up the inside to try and throw him off into the first chicane. A little bit wide of the mark there, Mike Murphy, and managed to hook up at the second part of the chicane. So is safe for the moment into turn 3.
Is anyone else really willing Mike on? I love Pete. He's one of my best friends, and I'm trying not to be biased, but my God, I'm willing Mike on so much. Really am willing on Mike Murphy. Then we've got Silas Craig-Frolic chasing down Ben Chalcraft. These circuit superstars, boys, are having to earn their keep tonight. They really, really are. They've got two of the finest sim racers that I've ever commentated on racing against them, and they are really working hard. But someone that's been working very hard, and it's going to pay off, is going to be your reigning champion for Williams Mechachrome. They didn't really win a race in 1998, but Cam's done it already. Cam Dance wins at Winton. Fantastic start to the season. Jake Cranston finishes in second place after an amazing chase and an amazing performance. But what is going to be of our podium finishers? Can Mike Murphy, who started 11th on the grid for Sauber in his first race in this championship, one of his first races on iRacing, can he do it? Pete's had a wobble. He's only got one more corner to go as Mike Murphy. He's going to plant his foot and he's going to get the job done. Mike Murphy gets a podium in his debut. What a feel-good story that is. Pete Harrod finishes in 4th. And Tom Minot as well. Wow, he was bottom of the pile at Hungaroring pre-season testing, but a top 5 for him is a great result. Ben Hoffman just behind as well, finishing in 6th. Then in the background, another one holds on. It's going to be Ben Chalcraft in the Jordan. He's going to beat Silas Craig-Frolic to the line. And what a fantastic race. Amazing. Oh my God, I've missed this.
Oh, brilliant, brilliant racing there. Cam Dance, again, showing why he is the reigning champion and looking to defend his crown with great ability here at Winton. That was such a strong drive from the number 1 Williams Mechachrome car. I have to say, he's looking in scary form already. We were talking about the qualifying performance of Jake Cranston and what a benchmark that would be for the drivers to chase. Well, Cam Dance has answered back in the only way he knows how, by winning the first race of the season.
And it's about time for some of Cam's signature donuts right now as he makes his way round the final corner. We'll go over the full results in just a moment's time, but here you go, right in camera shot. Cam Dance is showing us exactly how happy he is with that, with some of his brilliant donuts that he does. It's a good looking car, that Williams, and it's nice to see it at the top of the field. But he wears that number 1 with pride, I can tell you that for free. Amazing race. So much entertainment here at Winton. I have absolutely fallen in love with this. Let's have a look then at the results. Cam Dance takes the first win of the season from Jake Cranstone in second. What a great drive by Jake. Mike Murphy, what a podium sunshine for Sauber Petronas. Pete Harrod finishes in fourth with Tom Minot in fifth place. Ben Hoffman in sixth for Benetton Playlife, meaning that it's 6 different manufacturers in the top 6. Ben Chalcraft finishes 7th ahead of Silas Krag Vrolik by only a couple of tenths of a second. And then Stuart Clark gets a great 9th place in the Arrows Yamaha, with Tim Perry finishing in 10th. Kevin Zemstra was a lap down, but still 11th and gets championship points. So too does Jack Stiles. He gets 1 point for his troubles there, although I might take it off him for having gold wheels. Martin Kenyon finishes in 13th ahead of Gilles Gardner. And then the cars that were 2 laps down or more were John Roberts, Toby Ward and Simon Price, and devastatingly Nico Minardi with that engine failure near the end, and then Michael Jones and Rob Lundgren also non-finishers. Goodness me, Ed. Where do we start? Boremula 1 does not disappoint once again here at Winton, and I mean, it was a hell of a circuit to come to. It was a big challenge to get the drivers to want to do this, but wow, it's certainly been an exciting opener, hasn't it?
I think I'm still recovering from that first lap. You know, that was absolute bedlam out on the circuit. I tell you what, it was a great season opener. Even though, of course, it is the same old story with Cam Dance winning. We have got, I think, a great challenger in the form of Jake Cranston that kept him honest all the way until the flag. I can't wait to see how the rest of the season will pan out as well. Maybe with Kevin Zemstra up there as well. If he didn't have that little moment at the start, where would he find himself? Plenty of questions going into Interlagos that I cannot wait to find the answers of.
Indeed, we've got a lot of answers to find out for sure as the season goes on, but what we're going to do is speak to our very first race winner of the season, and it is, of course, reigning champion Cam Dance. Cam, a great way to start your campaign, mate. You must be over the moon with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Go the mighty Winnie's mobile. It's a good thing that Winfield's on the car because it's got win on it, so it's going to happen a lot, eh? No, really, really good to start the season off with a win, obviously. It looked like it was going to be pretty tough competition with the way that Jake was actually pretty quick in qualifying, especially, and then the fact that all the rest of them sort of decided they wanted to die. But yeah, it's going to be really, really interesting to see how the season goes. And I think it's fair to say that I have to ask Mum whether I did a number of marathons around the clothesline because I seem to be quite good around here.
I was going to say, yeah, the marathon around the clothesline was a definitely interesting and accurate assumption of this circuit. But I mean, it's car 1P1 once again for you, Cam. What were your thoughts coming into this championship after pre-season testing? Because, you know, last season we saw it a few times that you weren't always top of the pile in quali, but then you just managed the race and just got the main bit where you score points nice and tidy.
Yeah, I wasn't 100% sure what to expect, to be honest. I mean, Silas and Kevin and Tim obviously looked quite good, so it was going to look like it was going to be pretty close again and probably going to be quite a repeat of what last year was going to be. But yeah, obviously the carnage off the start helped me a bit with the fact that they all decided to be going backwards. But yeah, look, it's looking like it's going to be a really, really good championship. I'm hopefully looking forward to a closer fight. But hey, look, I'll take more wins if I can.
Well, absolutely. Yeah, you've got to look after number 1, mate, and that's the main thing. Interlagos next time round, a much wider and usual circuit for these cars, let's say. I think it's going to be a bit of a different kettle of fish. What are you expecting there?
Yeah, absolutely. It's hopefully going to suit the medium downforce a lot more. Going to be probably no different to what we saw last year. It's going to be absolute madness with the run to the finish line. But yeah, it's going to be much better to drive around, obviously, with a lot less downforce to worry about. And hopefully it's going to be a win or podium, or hopefully not on the wall.
Well, hopefully not on the wall like Kevin Zemstra, who's just said in Discord, what can I say other than my launch was amazing until it wasn't anymore? Because he was certainly a scary one off the line because he nearly had the run on you, but amazing first performance in the season, Cam, and a lot of big points to take away from this. Is there anyone you'd like to thank or give a shout out to?
Yeah, just obviously shout out to yourself and all the boys for turning up to make the series awesome once again. And obviously all the guys at Orbit Motorsport and all our partners on the car, the likes of Tune, Demon Tweaks, Fight CRC, Sim Racing Bobble, and Sim 3D for all their support as well. So yeah, hopefully we can get some more victories for them.
Fingers crossed for you, Cam. Thanks very much for joining us, mate, and well done on the great start to your season.
Yeah, cheers, man.
Brilliant stuff. Cam Dance then. The New Zealander having a fantastic time over in Oz here at Winton, Ed. And I mean, to be fair, there wasn't much more that the next man that we're going to interview could do to chase him down, but he certainly tried.
Hello.
There we go. Yes, thank you very much, Chaz. And Jake Cranston joins us in the comms booth. I mean, you did everything you could, and I think in that race you had an amazing qualifying performance, but just when push came to shove, the circuit just wasn't one that I think you could get past, could you?
Yeah, there was no way to overtake. I tried my best to force a mistake, but Cam's too good. And yeah, I seemed to fluff the pit stop somehow. Not sure what happened there, but lost a few seconds and couldn't quite bring it back at the end.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you're aware actually, but you were carrying quite a bit of front end damage. Is that something you felt in the car, or did it just feel as normal? Because if you get a chance to have a look at the race back, especially in that last stint, you essentially only had one element of your front wing still existing.
Oh well, that might explain it. I had no idea. Well, I didn't hit anything, so I don't know. It must have been the curb. I don't know. I didn't feel anything wrong with the car, so that's annoying.
I think it's just a little bit on the outside of turn 2. I think that little sort of bouncy curb is something that I think catches out a lot of the drivers there, because it seems like there's a load of left-hand side damage on pretty much everyone, apart from, annoyingly for you, Cam Dance, who, again, just seemed to get all of the sort of fortune, I guess, of the circuit, not damaging his car. But I'll tell you what, mate, that was a heck of a race. And just how is it in these sort of longer races, driving for nearly about 50 minutes in a car that's threatening to kill you all the time?
Yeah, that's a new experience for me. Coming into this, especially this track, which I've never raced before, I just wanted to make it to the end without crashing or doing a little spin or something. So even though it's P2 and I feel like I could have won with the pace I had, I'm very happy with the result.
Yeah, and of course, it's nothing to sneeze at. Is it getting a podium in your first race of the season? But surely our goals are to win the whole thing, because your pace has been electric this season so far, at least in the pre-qualifying and tonight.
Emphasis on the so far, Ed.
No worry, mate. I know you're not going to be like me and have a flash in the pan at your first round and fade away. I can see that you've got a lot of pace there to give. So, I mean, is Interlagos a circuit that you think you might have a little pace to give and maybe challenge for the race win?
Yes, I hope so. I've won a couple of touring car races in RLTC there, so that should be good.
Well, Formula 1, at least that first opening lap was a bit of a touring car race. I mean, you were luckily out of the way of it, but fingers crossed you'll be able to have a good race out next time, and we'll be seeing you again fighting right up at the front, because it was an absolute joy here tonight, mate. Anyone you'd like to give a shout out?
Shout out to my girlfriend Ellen and her parents Ali and Dave watching along. I believe my mum and probably my grandparents will be watching tomorrow morning, so thank you to them, and thank you to you guys for putting on such a great series.
No worries. Good to have the Cranston fan club out there in force, and I think, to be fair, after tonight you might have another member in me, because that was a really good drive from you, bud. Take care.
Thank you. Cheers.
Lovely stuff. Well, yes, hello to the Cranstone family watching along at home or watching the next day as well. Great to have more and more viewers each time we come onto this. And I tell you what, I mean, you can hear that I'm smiling already, because I wanted to interview Mike so badly. Mike, welcome to the commentary box, mate. You must be more beaming than me right now. What a fantastic start to the season.
Yeah, no, I couldn't have predicted it. Yeah, I think I benefited from some others' misfortune, but and a lot of pressure from, was it Pete Harrod at the end?
Yes.
Yeah, no, I'm more than happy, and I'll be sharing some of the broadcast with my boys in the morning, I think.
Mega stuff. Well, absolutely, mate. And you know, Pete is absolutely no sort of small name to keep behind either. You know, he's a multiple champion, whether it be in touring cars and GT cars as well, and he's a very quick guy, is Pete.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I've been sim racing for quite a few years. I'm only new into iRacing since the beginning of this year.
Oh, okay.
But, yeah, no, he was piling on the pressure. I think he might have backed off a little bit to have another run at me, maybe to cool things off. I was hoping that, it might have been that he was maybe running low on fuel or something, and it would relieve the pressure for the last few laps. But thankfully ticked them off and got that podium. So more than happy with that.
Absolutely, mate. And completely understand as well. We go to a much easier circuit next time round, thankfully, because I'm never bringing anything back here to Winton, because I think I've started to hate it based on how these cars are just having to tiptoe around it. Interlagos is next up. It's much wider. It's much faster. Do you think that'll suit these cars a lot better?
Yeah, I think there's going to be some slipstreaming going on, isn't there?
Oh, why? Name of the game in this.
Yeah. I've done some officials with the F3 round Interlagos. That was good fun. So now I'm looking forward to that one. It's there's a bit of a twisty section at the end, so should provide some interesting, some exciting racing.
It absolutely will, Mike. I'm very sure, and I'm really, really pleased for you to get that result on the first round of the championship. Is there anyone that you'd like to give a thanks to while we've got you on the stream?
Well, thanks to Minardi. Obviously, he pointed out the championship to me. I don't know. It caught me off guard slightly.
Sorry, mate.
No, I'll leave it at that. And my teammates for back in Circuit Superstars, so Ben Chalcroft, aka White Van Man, and Nico, we've all been supporting one another and doing a little bit of testing together, so that's been invaluable. So, yep.
Beautiful stuff, Mike. Well, it's a pleasure to finally speak to you as well. Seen your name a lot on Circuit Superstars and wanted to race against you for a while, so maybe that chance will still come. But great to see you, mate, and very well done.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Cheers. Well, there you go then. Mike Murphy, one of the finest in the world on Circuit Superstars, and I imagine right now he's going to feel like one of the finest in the world here at Winton, Ed. What a great race for him.
That was brilliant stuff, yeah. I mean, you can say all you like about the circuit and how awful it is to drive, but Mike won't be saying that. He will be absolutely grinning. I mean, you could hear it in the interview, grinning ear to ear after what a brilliant result that was for the 22 Sauber. And of course, in the team's championships, any points you can get early on will be absolutely invaluable.
They really will. I think actually Jordan might lead the championship after this, because Pete Harrod finished 4th with Ben Chalcroft 7th. But that shows you how mixed up the grid was. You know, we've got a McLaren in 2nd place and 8th place as well. We've got both the Arrows inside the top 10. We've only had one Williams tonight, one Benetton as well. The two Ferraris were both in the points, but 10th and 11th. A Stewart got a point as well. This is going to be one very, very lively and busy championship. So I really do hope that you will all join us for the rest of it as well. Any final words, Ed, before we move away and finish up for the evening? Because I think that's all we've got time for tonight.
And I mean, it was wonderful here at Winton, wasn't it, Chaz? We had some great races, but I mean, roll on Interlagos, because I think anything that we've seen here tonight will be exaggerated tenfold, because that's a circuit that will have so much drama. It's had drama in the past in rounds in the Formula One World Championship. In pretty much every single series that races there, there's always something going on, and I don't think Formula One will disappoint whatsoever.
It absolutely will not, and we will certainly make sure of it. Thanks very much, everybody, for watching. We really hope you've enjoyed the show. We've certainly enjoyed putting it on for you, and even though the track's been a nightmare, I know a lot of the drivers have enjoyed the first round of the championship as well. But that's all from the wonderful Ed May and myself, Chaz Draycott, here in the CDM Boremula One World Championship by F1Countdown.com, sponsored by Abruzzi Racewear and Sim Racing Magazine. Thank you very much, everybody. Honestly, it is a pleasure to do this, and I look forward to the next round greatly. We'll see you in a week's time at Interlagos. Good night. Four French drivers at the French Grand Prix trying to win this on the final lap. The three wide again, Guillaume down the inside. Guillaume moves across. They're both in front of Milan and Pouget.
Before you know it, we find ourselves here in the very final race of the competition.
And then they see truck racing and they think, this is crazy. You know, these are 5-ton machines, 1,200 horsepower brake.
Oh, look at that switchback. Oh, he's been loved and a terrific show out. Dan Gregory now, I love this. 10.5 minutes gone. Senna Lanson tries to go for the race lead.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.